become free from the bondage or fruit of actions. But those who, out of envy, disregard these teachings and do not follow them regularly are to be considered bereft of all knowledge, befooled, and ruined in their endeavors for perfection. Even a man of knowledge acts according to his own nature, for everyone follows the nature he has acquired from the three modes. What can repression accomplish? There are principles to regulate attachment and aversion pertaining to the senses and their objects. One should not come under the control of such attachment and aversion because they are stumbling blocks on the path of self-realization. It is far better to discharge one's prescribed duties, even though faultily, than another's duties perfectly. Destruction in the course of performing one's own duty is better than engaging in another's duties, for to follow another's path is dangerous.
So you want to continue?
You can go.
Me? Okay. All right. 36. Arjuna said, O descendant of Vrishni, by what is one impelled to do to sinful acts, even unwillingly, as if engaged by force? The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, it is lust only, Arjun, which is born of contact with the material mode of passion and later transformed into wrath, and which is all devouring, sinful enemy of this world. As fire is covered by smoke, as mirror is covered by dust, or as embryo is covered by the womb, the living entity is similarly covered by different degrees of this degrees of this lust. Thus, the wise living entity, its pure consciousness becomes covered by his eternal enemy in form of lust, which is never satisfied and which burns like fire. The senses, the mind, and the intelligence are the sitting places of this lust. Through them, lust covers the real knowledge of living entity and bewilders him.
Therefore, O Arjuna, best of the Bharatas, it is in the very beginning, curb the great symbol of sin, lust, by regulating the senses, and slay this destroyer of knowledge and self-realization. The working senses are superior to dull matter. Mind is higher than the senses. Intelligence is higher than the mind. And the soul is even higher than the intelligence. Thus, knowing oneself to be transcendental to the material senses, mind, and intelligence, mighty Arjuna, mighty armed Arjuna, one should steady the mind by deliberate spiritual intelligence, Krishna consciousness, and thus by spiritual strength conquer this insatiable enemy known as lust.
All right. So,
Well, that was
review?
yeah.
Yeah, let's review what we learned from this one. We started from 30, right?
Yes.
So do you have any comment?
So I've got a few things actually marked in this one.
Okay.
On 35 in the purport, I have one sentence underlined that's everyone has to cleanse his heart by a gradual process, not abruptly. Because that's encouraging to me because it's almost overwhelming at times, you know?
Yeah.
Well, just even like, oh man, you know, just learning the proper ways to do things, you know?
And that's the reason I want to be slow,
Yeah.
because you are asking, but
Yeah.
otherwise, remember when we met first time, you asked how do I offer to Lord? I just said, just chant Hare Krishna,
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. What can be better than that, right?
Yeah.
Now you are trying to go deep into it, and we are going to differ deeper and deeper.
Yeah.
There is no end, but
Yeah.
it's up to
It's a
us.
bottomless pit. Yeah.
How much deep we want to go.
Yeah.
And whatever we do, it's a gradual process.
Yeah, absolutely. I also had in 37 in the purport, it says, therefore lust is the greatest enemy of the living entity, and it is lust only which induces the pure living entity to remain entangled in the material world. And it's, so, little background. So yesterday I had a buddy of mine who's going through a hard time and stuff, and he just wanted somebody to hang out. Well, he wanted to go to a bar and hang out, so I went with him. Of course, I wasn't drinking, I was having little, like, grenadine drinks, so I could sit with him and talk, and, he's drinking and stuff. But it's just really funny because as I was sitting there, like, I'm just looking at all these people, and I'm just like, I'm so glad, like, they're looking at themselves in the mirror and still, checking each other out and stuff, and I'm like, I'm so glad I don't care about this stuff anymore.
Yeah. It's just too much, right?
Yeah, but like, I don't feel weird in those situations. That it doesn't bother me being in there, It's almost encouraging because it's like, oh, hell, I've come a pretty long way. This is awesome, Like, made me feel pretty good, and, like, especially because I was never, like, a heavy drinker. It was more like a social thing, and the band plays out. We always play at a bar or something, And so it'd just be, like, something there, just, like, almost like something to do,
Yeah.
And eventually, of course, I got to the point where
Yeah.
when this year started, I was like, I need to cut all that stuff out. I mean, it's need to be clear mind, and it's there's no benefit to it, I mean, it's not even like it was fun. It was just like I was doing it just because other people were, and even now when we play out, they're like, hey, let's take shots, and I'm like, all right, can I get water, please? So I'm just like, with my water, and so it's
Let's
like,
just say cheers.
yeah. So I'm like, because I want to be there and I want to have fun with everybody, but I can be fun and be sober,
Yeah.
And it's so funny because then like, oh wait, you don't drink? I'm like, no. And they're like,
How come?
Yeah. I'm like, I just want a clear mind, and I don't want to have any. I mean, but anyway, it's just very encouraging because it's it just shows how much entangled everybody is in that stuff, and when you start to, I guess, become Krishna conscious and like see these things, it's just kind of the blinders are off and you see it. All right, let's see. I also had in 39 the purport, the very last sentence. This lust is the symbol of ignorance by which the living entity is kept within the material world. While one enjoys sense gratification, it may be that there is some feeling of happiness, but actually that so-called feeling of happiness is the ultimate enemy of the sense enjoyer, which is just kind of exactly what we were just talking about. Also had in the purport of 40, the very last quote there, it's from Srimad Bhagavatam. A human being who identifies this body made of three elements with his self, who considers the byproducts of the body to be his kinsmen, who consider the land of birth worshipful, and who go to the place of pilgrimage simply to take a bath, rather than meet men of transcendental knowledge there, is to be considered like an ass or a cow.
I would call them a little nice word, spiritual tourist.
Yeah.
Prabhupada is more direct, but I would say spiritual tourist.
And I mean, it's just because I probably marked that when I first started reading the Bhagavad Gita, and it's just like there's so many people that are like all over the place that just finding the right path and stuff. But lastly, the very last sentence of 43 in the purport: in the immature stage of material existence, philosophical speculations and artificial attempts to control the senses by so-called practice of yogic postures can never help a man towards spiritual life. He must be trained in Krishna consciousness by higher intelligence.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
So,
Yep.
that was a lot, but I had
you understood the whole Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah.
Do you want me to go, or do you want to go fast?
You can go first.
Okay. Yeah, I think you have done pretty good job. There is nothing more to add. It's some substance of what it is, and one thing I like to talk about is lust. Lust is so broad. It's not like our biological need we think.
Sure.
It's so broad. Like when I have attachment of my country, that's a lust. When I have my attachment of my family, that's a lust. Because lust is in a broader perspective, what Bhagavad Gita is trying to bring up is we're attached to something, right? Even when we want to earn too much money, we want to be rich, that's also a lust. Because we have desire to do something, some desire, that's indirectly our lust. So that's what always binds us to this material world. And Karma Yoga is what trying to teach us is do everything you are supposed to do, because without acting you cannot even survive, right? You need to act to live, but whatever you do, surrender to Krishna, and it becomes Krishna consciousness. And like last text you might mention, you could try to force your senses by those yogic process. You will have partial success, but in Bhagavatam there is a lot of example how those yogi have been out of their track. Sometimes Menaka comes, sometimes somebody comes, they immediately fall in trap of Maya, and then they are gone. But as a devotee, there are so many story in Bhagavatam comes, like Arjun is a very good devotee, right? When Arjun went to heavenly planet to see his dad is like Indra, right? Heavenly planet is Indra, and Menaka was interested in him. He said, "No, you are my parents, my parents' associate. I see you as like a mother." She got so much displeased that she even cursed him, because he's a devotee. Nobody can, deviate him from his, standard. And there are other devotee, like even our in our parampara, like during Gaurang Mahaprabhu's time, Bada Haridas, no, Namacharya Haridas Thakur, he was trying to be seduced by one prostitute. End up becoming a devotee of a devotee. he could not be seduced. So there are so many examples. Just being Krishna conscious, and we try to surrender to Krishna with the devotional process, automatically controls our senses. Such a beautiful. We try to control by becoming yogi, we can never control. But we surrender unto Krishna, it's a byproduct. It's automatically comes. Such a beautiful thing, because I don't have trust on me, but I have trust on Lord Krishna, right? So by surrendering unto Him, it's automatically taken care of, and we don't need to worry about where we are in scientific term. Like when we do experiment in science, I like to use litmus paper, right? Litmus paper you dip, and certain color for acid, certain color for base, and color not change, it's a neutral, right? That's how we check. So scientifically it's some formula or math. And in our devotional service also, how much progress we are making, there is litmus paper that our spiritual master have given, like Rupa Goswami have written that nectar of instructions. Such a beautiful, right? That is litmus paper for us to check. And Gauranga Mahaprabhu Shikshastakam, one of them is like third one is Trinat api sunichena taror api saishuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. That means you need to treat yourself as like a blade of grass, right? Being in humble mood, when you chant, you can be successful, right? And that's to me, it's a litmus paper, and I can once in a while I can gauge myself where I am. I'm not there yet, but I don't lose my hope, because Krishna will take care of me. And that's something we'll read in chapter 9. Chapter 9, he tells that Arjun declared to entire world, my devotee never perishes. He have declared that. So that gives us peace of mind also. As long as we are in track, we'll be there. So that's a beautiful thing. Even though we are so scared on this one, at the end, we have peace of mind. If we become devotee, that is the main thing, right? We become devotee, everything is taken care of. Such a beautiful thing. That's my few cents.
I mean, this is like, yeah, it's beautiful. I feel like, yeah, definitely understanding just how these desires manifest in different ways, and just, they never satiate, since they're like the wind, always pulling. And, yeah, the whole yogic process, the best yogic process is Krishna consciousness. But not to negate, the yogic process is also very helpful just for, because we're not even sattvic half the time, just to get into the might, the mode of goodness, how do we do that, and in which ways do we do that? And yeah, I mean, just adding Krishna to whatever you're doing, and understanding that, I just put myself back when I was 11 years old. My dad gave me the Gita, and I was like, oh my gosh. It was just looking at the first chapter and looking at all the names, I'm just like, I couldn't look at it.
You cannot even read that name, right? So
no. And I'm just like, why did he give me this book? But understanding that everybody has their journey, and then also understanding, just in the same way, we talked about how we all came to Krishna consciousness, and understanding that how that Krishna's ultimately here to support us in every single way, and is giving us all facility, and has given us our proper different flavor, ras, different tastes in different ways, and we all are like different pieces and parcels. So just understanding how, no matter what, just add Krishna will ultimately help in all things. This part, even if you do another's duty perfectly, you still will not be successful. I'm just like, but what if you don't know your duty? No, your ultimate duty is serve Krishna, but materialistically, right now I'm like in a group and we're trying to figure out how to set up Varnashram Dharma in Africa. And so, I'm just like, right now we're going to have to actually discuss this next week. And I'm just like, what are, there's so many, like Prabhupada said what Varnashram Dharma is, but like understanding it, everybody has a different interpretation of what it means, even though he laid it out. And so it's like, okay, what do we see in which way? Because Prabhupada wasn't fanatical with it. When he's creating these communities, it was for everybody. And so it's going to be interesting next week to see how, how many different versions of Varnashram Dharma, and then also
Please keep us posted.
Yeah. No, I'm just like, oh my, because I can already see it today. I'm like, oh boy, this is going to be interesting. Yeah. So yeah. Just like
Good.
Krishna.
You guys want to tell anything?
No, my English is good.
You can tell in Nepali, I can tell in English if you want to. Convert in English.
Tetima Buddhina.
Okay. So, do you want to say anything? Okay. But talking about the Varnashram Dharma, it's interesting you brought that up. Yes, Krishna tells in chapter 4, we are going to study, right? He have created that the Varnashram Dharma, Chaturvarnya Maya system. Krishna created it, and yet he is not attached to that one. And when we read Chaitanya Charitamrita, that's where nice conversation between Gauranga Mahaprabhu and what's his name? Do you know? Associate? Gauranga Mahaprabhu and
Not Nityananda or Gadadhar?
not Nidadhar. He was talking with one associate. I forgot his
Oh.
name. Ramananda Rai.
Oh.
There is a conversation between Ramananda Rai and Gauranga Mahaprabhu. And Gauranga Mahaprabhu keeps on asking question to Ramananda Rai. Ramananda Rai is expansion of I think somebody tells expansion of Arjun. Somebody tells Ramananda Rai is Lalita Sakhi. Okay, so they all from spiritual planet. Therefore, they are very close associate of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. And he was asking, what is good for human? What is good? And he starts gradually. And it's Varnashram Dharma. And Gauranga Mahaprabhu says, that's all right. Go a little deeper. And he starts taking other thing. So, and that's the question I asked my spiritual master also, what is my occupational duty? Ultimately, everybody has their own occupational duty. That's our dharma, right? What's our occupational duty? So that's what it boils down to. And see, it's interesting. She would bring that up for us to listen in the future, right? Varnashram, the way Prabhupada explained Varnashram Dharma is like, it's not based by birth, it's not birthright that is typically India and Nepal they try to brag about. I can be Brahman, I can be Kshatriya, I can be Sudra depending on what I do. I go in Berea College work because I work for some boss, I'm their like servant, right? So I am Sudra there, right? Mm-hmm. And when we are talking in Bhagavad Gita, we all are Brahman because we are talking about Krishna, right? We are Brahman. Mm-hmm. And then like somebody is attacking on our society and our devotee, we try to defend them. We are Kshatriya, right? And we just talk about how do we expand our organization. Let's get our Lexinan group a little bigger. Let's expand this, bring more devotee. That's our way of doing business. We become Sudra, or we become Vaishya. So me as the same person, sometimes I can be Brahman, sometimes I can be Kshatriya, sometimes I can be Vaishya, sometimes I could be Sudra. So one person can be all of them. Or because of their nature, they can choose to be different. But Krishna does not care. Any varna you are in, as long as you are giving your whole heart, he accepts it. Right? That's how we are going to talk in chapter 9 anyway. And then when the Chaitanya Charitamrita, we are going deeper and deeper and deeper on that conversation between Gauranga Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Raya. Ultimately, it boils down to Krishna consciousness is the highest. So, yes, Varnashram Dharma is there to advance people so that they become qualified to become Krishna conscious. But if you are already Krishna conscious, you are already transcendental to that Varnashram Dharma. You cannot negate Varnashram Dharma because it is created by the Lord. But when you become devotee of Krishna, you are already transcendental to that. So you already went beyond that. Ultimate goal is to become Krishna conscious, and that Varnashram Dharma helps you to reach there. You already reached there because of some of your past pious activity. Like I like to add a little example. His son example he gave us, that is beautiful for today's right our discussion. Like he invited his son to come to this session.
My oldest,
and
yeah.
oldest son,
Okay.
and oldest son he lived with him food. That would not lure him because he's a little hungry, he wants to eat. We have food here, but he could not bring him because, see, when Krishna was present himself, right, and then Duryodhana tried to arrest him. And when Krishna shows his universal form, because nobody can arrest Krishna until he decides to bound himself by motherly love of Yashoda. Nobody can bind him. And when he decide to do universal form, to get rid of all those army without doing any bloodshed, Duryodhana thought, wow, he's such a magical person. He has supernatural power. He never saw him as Krishna as God. He saw Krishna as with somebody mystic power. And even his dad, he was blind, right, Dhritarashtra, he also didn't see him as a Lord. Whereas there are other devotees also in that assembly, like Acharya, Bhishma Pitamaha, Kripacharya. Those were devotees of Krishna. They were bowing down because they saw Lord Krishna's magnanimous form. So same form, somebody can see it, somebody cannot see it. And how we become devotee? It's not by luck. It's some of those devotees who have given some grace on us. Therefore, we pray, sing Vancha Kalpatarubhascha, right? Or we may have eaten some prasadam. That prasadam is taking effect. Or in our past life, we have gotten some manda swikriti, some agyat swikriti, that we must have done some journey in Krishna consciousness that we were not able to finish. And based on, we read all those karma yoga, right? So this whole chapter is karma yoga. So based on our past karma, we happen to get birth in this life. But what we have earned last life was not able to complete. That's what we are connecting. So we have earned some pious credit that we are able to get to Krishna consciousness, that even though you invited your son, he have not earned that credit yet. So he was not attracted to come. But beautiful thing you told is that one way or the other he is eating prasadam anyway. That prasadam will take effect one day on him.
Yeah.
And then he will gradually be interested and attracted because that power of prasadam.
Well, and
So-
my youngest, because of course he was here last week, and so when we got in the car, I was like, "What'd you think?" Because he went up with me to ISKCON Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
And, so I mean, he was like, "This is cool. This is cool." I was like, "All right." So when he came here, of course, it's a little more like reading and not
Yeah.
as like exciting kirtan and stuff.
Yeah,
you
we
know?
need to kirtan also. We
Yeah.
will try to arrange because I'm trying to do that May 18th, so I'm not getting all component together. It's getting a
Yeah.
little hard. May 18th, right on there is a 24-hour kirtan in Cincinnati. So we are like small tree
Mm. Yeah.
under big tree,
Yeah.
so it's hard. Maybe June we will do grand kirtan
That'd be
here.
good. But yeah, I asked him because I never really talk about my vegetarianism with him or anything like that. They just know I don't eat meat. And so, if you remember, we discussed that, and I was kind of talking about it. So I was like, now you know why I don't eat meat, Because I mean, it's never come up in conversation. They've never asked,
Yeah.
And so I'm not one to force my beliefs. You know what I
That's
mean?
right,
Like
that's right.
they'll figure it out.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the dad.
We would rather be spiritual scientists than like blind faith
Yeah.
follower, right? Yeah.
Well, I always equate it to like the dad that forces his kid to play baseball
Yes.
because he played baseball in
Yeah.
high school,
Yeah.
and the kid doesn't want to play baseball.
Right.
So I mean, he was like, "Yeah, that's interesting." Like,
So he was listening while playing
Mm-hmm.
his video
Yeah.
game. That's
Yeah.
perfect. That's
Yeah.
perfect.
So yeah.
So your younger one didn't decide to come today?
Well, I don't have him this weekend. I only
Oh,
get him.
you-
I only get him every other
Rotation,
weekend.
okay.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
Yeah. So he'll be here next weekend.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good
he doesn't.
deal.
He doesn't have the choice.
I know. I know. Yeah.
He has
I
to
understand
come.
that.
Yeah, that used to irritate me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My dad's like, you just have to come once a month, so I didn't have to go every weekend, but
That's good.
Yeah.
yeah, but it was good.
That's the part of life. But
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
bring as much as you can, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it will
Yeah,
do it.
prasadam.
Prasadam.
Prasadam is a secret
Yeah.
weapon. Right.
So, yeah, our conversation went just perfect. We are on time. We finished one chapter, and I will change my flyer with right as of now. My flyer was chapter 3 Karma
Oh,
Yoga, right?
yeah.
So I will update my flyer with transcendental knowledge and then post it.
Yeah. When you do, I'll print some out and take it to
Okay.
the Royal Mart on
Yeah,
the Nepali
that's
store on Lisa.
chapter 4 had like 42 text. So even though we read 20, it will be we may just do 3 days, 3 weeks, yeah.
Okay.
Because that chapter 4 is transcendental knowledge, very heavy subject. So,
Yeah.
all right. Shall we start prayer for prasadam? Let me give them also. यो तिमीले आयुषले पनि सँगसँगै पछाडिको पेजमा छ है लास्ट पेजमा प्रसाद
I cooked rice. I
तिमी
cooked
पनि
rice.
यो
So what?
I
Last
cooked
week.
rice.
Oh, you cooked?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, I saw that. I was like, huh.
Okay, ready?
Nice. Nice.
महाप्रसादे गोविन्दे नाम ब्राह्मणी वैष्णवे स्वल्पपुण्यवतान् राजन् विश्वासो नैव जायते शरीर अविद्याजाल जोडेन्द्रियता हे काल जीवे फेले विषय सागरे तार मध्ये जीवाति लोभमय सुदुर्मति ताके जेता कठिन संसारे कृष्ण बरो दयामय करिबारे जिह्वा जय सुप्रसाद अन्न दिल भाई सेई अन्नामृत पाओ राधा कृष्ण गुण गाओ प्रेमे डाको चैतन्य ताई जय निमाई जय निताई जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे